Hey, I've got something a bit different for you in today's video, one that I believe every pilot can learn a lot from. It's a compilation of over 50 speed flying crashes, and I'll be analyzing each one to identify the mistakes made and how they could have been prevented. I'm excited to jump right into the video, but before we do, I want to take a moment to thank everyone who publicly shared their crashes so others could learn from them. And a special thanks to those who sent me their footage and gave me permission to use it. So if you think I've analyzed something incorrectly or missed something, feel free to leave a comment about it and I'll make sure to update it in the video description. Now let's dive in. So here we have a pilot that is making a steep turn to the right to lose altitude. I'm not sure if he wanted to initiate a barrel roll. If so, then he should have made it more aggressively with more energy, because making a turn or a roll that slowly and staying in that turn for longer will make you lose a lot more altitude. This pilot came in too low with no energy in reserve and therefore no plan B to overfly obstacles. As you can see, he's holding his rear risers already way below the neutral position, which by the way can be very dangerous and it's likely to stall the glider. So no option left to create lift with risers already that low. In addition, the wing touch made him lose control completely, but if a crash is inevitable, what he did is exactly the right thing. Not to stay on the rear risers, because you're not slowing the wing down, but switching to the brakes. This has at least slowed down the impact speed. And by the way, the simplest way to avoid accidents like this is flying a Parakite instead of a regular speed wing, as it becomes very unlikely to get into situations like this with all the energy and glide ratio potential a Parakite has. We can observe several errors here with the same principle of switching from rears to brakes. Pilot came in with trims closed and opens them now. First of all, I personally would never open the trims so close to the ground out of a dynamic turn, as you never know if they both open correctly. It happened several times to me already, where only one side opened and then your wing will start making a steep turn on its own, which can be very dangerous close to the ground. After initiating a turn for the landing, he misjudged how much altitude the wing loses and goes very deep on the rears. The wing would have probably stalled now. If you realize too late that you're too low in a turn and are about to hit the ground, it's generally better to switch from rears to the brakes, because by pulling the brakes you create more drag, which helps bring the wing above you quickly, enabling you to end the dive faster. And at the same time, if a crash is inevitable, it will reduce impact speed. Here we have a pretty scary failed cliff launch, but where the pilot got extremely lucky. First of all, we see the pilot launch without holding the A risers. This isn't automatically wrong, especially on certain speed wings, as some tend to shoot up very hard when holding them. But in such situations, holding the A risers would probably be helpful to bring the wing up above his head more quickly. From what we can see, the pilot looks pretty unexperienced and made one error after another. No in-flight check if the wing is inflated correctly and above his head. Too much brakes applied so the wing keeps staying behind him. Poor control and sensitivity over his glider, as he isn't even feeling that the wing is not over his head. At first, with a quick look, it looks like he wanted to stop running because something with his glider was not okay. But at a second better look, we can see he only stopped because he tripped. If he wouldn't have tripped, he would have launched with the wing in this position much behind his body, which can become very dangerous as soon as he jumps out of the cliff. Takeaway: cliff launches can become dangerous even for experienced pilots. There is no plan B if something with the wing happens before the cliff. For beginners, I would always only attempt on normal takeoffs, never cliff launches. Not much to say here. The pilot misjudged his altitude loss out of a turn and went too low. Not much you can do in that situation. Maybe applying more brake instead of releasing them before the obstacle would have given him that extra 1 to 2 meter lift to make it out, but it's difficult to say. This pilot stated that he forgot his glasses, leading to worse vision and distorted depth precision. Takeaways here are: don't wait until the very last end to pull the rears to end the dive, sooner is safer. And when in doubt, switch to the brakes, especially if an impact is inevitable, as you will reduce impact speed, and applying brakes creates more drag, which will let you end the dive sooner. And of course, using an airbag under your butt will always help in such situations. A reminder that the wingspan above our head is anywhere from 5 to 8 meters. It was pilot's first time flying with rear risers, and therefore it gets easy to forget about your wingspan if you're practicing new stuff, which can get you overwhelmed with information more quickly. Same thing here, pilot crashed because the wingtip touched a small tree. Always keep an eye on your wingspan. So this is definitely an information overload at landing. He sees the tree coming too close, probably panics and goes very deep on the rear risers with trim closed, which stalls the wing. Only thing I can imagine is he wanted to get more glide by pulling the rears. But that's not a good idea, especially with trimmers closed. It's better to switch to the brakes. Or in this case, just turn a little bit to the left and fly past the tree. But in general, things like this, where you can make one wrong decision after another, can happen if you downsize too quickly and get overwhelmed with informations when things start getting more tricky. This pilot, on the other hand, seems to have a good control over his glider, makes a pre-flight check and launches reversed, which is something every speed flying pilot should be able to, in my opinion, but at the same time you don't see it very often. He stated that he was trying to show off for another pilot walking up, which made him make a wrong decision. Barrel rolls close to the ground are always dangerous. You need energy to perform a roll, otherwise if performed out of a straight flight without building up energy, risk of stalling the glider is higher, and at the same time you will lose a lot of altitude. Speed flying is cool, no doubt. Therefore we all show off here and there whenever we have the chance to. But ask yourself if it's worth the risk. And of course an airbag would help in such a crash. This pilot stated that because of the bad conditions that are happening often here in this area, he started flying regularly directly into solid clouds with a GPS or compass. But unfortunately, this time his watch froze up for the first time in over a year. That's why he took out his phone to check for the direction he was flying, but got surprised by a mountain in front of him. Oh, and no injuries by the way. Lucky man. Takeaway. Never fly through solid fog or clouds, even more if you're unprepared without equipment. Trust me, it doesn't sound like much, but once you're in a very solid layer of fog and lose orientation completely, it gets extremely scary, as the next clip will show. And it's very easy to start flying to the left or to the right instead of a straight line. Sometimes you stay on the top of a mountain with a persistent fog layer underneath, which is keeping you for hours waiting on the takeoff. Especially on a hike and fly, this can get really frustrating. And sometimes you decide to fly anyways, hoping or thinking that the fog layer will not be that thick. But you can never know how thick it really is. Once in it, you have zero orientation skills and have no sense of direction or intuition if you're still flying straight following your line, or if you started flying to the left or to the right. This pilot said he was trying to tuck his jacket back under his harness using his right elbow and gave too much input to the right side of the wing. As it's a very reactive wing, this was enough to unbalance it out of control, so he overreacted, causing a left side collapse. Not much to say in this case, if not to pay attention if you fly very small and reactive wings, as the Fury 8 in this video, as the smallest input can already cause a reaction chain of events, especially if you downsize too quickly. This one here is an example of where several factors come together and you're getting overwhelmed with information and don't know how to react properly because of inexperience. We have very strong wind coming from the right direction. It would have simply been enough to turn a little bit more to the right into the wind and land very gently in this open space, as the strong wind would slow the glider down to a very low landing speed. The worst thing to do in high wind is turning with the wind direction if you're already close to the ground, as your glider will accelerate a lot without the option to turn back around if you're already that low. Once he made the wrong decision and finds himself in this position, I think there's not much left he can do. With smaller wings, if he would have turned to the right with a steep turn, he would probably lose too much altitude and bump into the terrain. So best thing to do would probably have been to fly straight and slide it out on the airbag, as he is using one. Even if he would have glided too far, the trees would have stopped the glider with maybe less or known injury because he was already very low. Not an ideal scenario, but definitely better than bumping into a house. The pilot stated he had not enough power to send the barrel roll here, so not much to say. In general, barrel rolls close to the ground or touch and go are one of the riskiest maneuvers, so choose wisely if you want to take the risk. You need to know your wing inside and out to perform these tricks more than just once. So that was the part 1 of Speedflying crash compilations. I'm currently working on 2 other parts, but I can't exactly tell when they come out as it's a lot of work. As soon as they come out, I will put the link in the description. So fly safe and always remember there is nothing worth dying for in the sky.